Hey guys, Parfax here today. It is almost time for the Blackwood expansion to come out, and I know there's going to be a lot of new people coming into the game, a lot of people coming and returning to the game, and I just wanted to make a quick tier list for new players when it comes to PVE, leveling up, and that kind of thing in the Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I will preface this with saying every single class, even the one that the one or two that I'll put in the D tier, are really, really good, but a lot of times they take a little bit more. They take something to get them going, and maybe they're not quite as versatile as some of the other ones. Now, I will say this isn't going to be an end game tier list, and I will touch on a couple of them that really move on, when it comes to end game. But this is basically if you're a new player or returning player and you're really just looking to have a little bit of fun and play around, not worry about anything, just kind of, you know, basically have easy street. This is going to be the tier list for you. So we're going to start from left to right. As you can see, the ones that are kind of tinted blue, these are going to be your magic classes. And the ones that are kind of black, these are going to be your stamina classes. So let's start off with the Magic Nightblade. So the Magic Nightblade, this class, to me, is overall the best class. Now, there's going to be another magic class that you're going to see that is a little bit better at the very, very beginning. But this class, we joke on my stream, we call it the Pale Order class because it literally has so much healing that it's just insane. They have an AoE heal, they have a spammable heal, they have it all. Now, the Templar, which we'll talk about as well, they have a heal that you get off right off the bat, and so does the Necromancer. But the Nightblade just does everything well. Now, part of the reason why I'm putting this, and I say this is the easiest class to play, is for two reasons. One, it has so much healing, right? You can out-heal everything. And two, once you get Cloak, which might be the first ability you start with, you can then just run past stuff that you don't want to have to do. So if you're getting Sky Shards and Delves, you can run past all the mobs if you don't want to kill them. You can, you can do so much things with the Cloak, plus the, just the amount of healing that you get, and you get your best healing spammable at the very beginning. Now, magic classes, which you're going to see in this video, are going to be a lot higher than some of the other stamina classes because the Destro Staff has a spammable AoE that you get right off the bat. It is, I think, the second skill in the skill line, and it's really quick. Stamina used to have it in the two-hander, but now they've basically put all the AoEs at the very bottom for every two-hander. Other than the bow has a little bit of AoE, but it's not a spammable AoE. So if your class doesn't have a spammable AoE for stamina users, then you're kind of out of luck, and it really sucks for the class, unfortunately. So Magic Nightblade, it's amazing. It's so much fun. You get Cloak. It heals so much. It's a very great class. The only thing that it kind of lacks in is an ultimate, where Templar does have it. So you can maybe kind of argue there, but you can get ultimates from other places. Next, we're going to go Magic Warden, or sorry, Magic Necromancer. And again, it is up here in the S class. Again, this class has a lot of healing. It has its own spammable that you can heal off of. It does tons of AoE damage. Its single target lacks a little bit early on. You don't have a great spammable, but you'll get that eventually either through the Destro Staff, or you do have a class spammable, makes it really good. It also has a great ultimate. You can really argue that this could really just go in front of it. Now, these aren't going to be left to right, best to worst. We're just going to go in the order of the way that I basically uploaded them. And the Necromancer's right up there. We're going to have just a couple that are up here that are absolutely S tier. From start to finish, these classes are amazing. Necro has an AoE, huge ultimate. It's got a spammable that you get right off the bat that can heal you, and it's overall just an amazing class, the Mag Necromancer. Next, we have Sork. Now, for those of you that know Sork, endgame, this class is great. It's up there with your Necromancer, your Nightblades, your Templars. It's up there with all of them. But it does take a little bit to get there. You need some abilities. You need your shields. You need you need a lot more to get done with it. So we're actually gonna put this in the do we want A tier or B tier? We will go A tier just because of how good it is once you get all the stuff, but it is a little bit slower going. Once you get some of the skills and stuff like that, it's a breeze. You know, you have 2 pets, one does AoE damage. They just do AFK damage basically. One can heal you. You have an in-class major sorcery, which is great, easily, and it's very good to use. And it's a lot of fun to play, and it's really not that hard. And especially once you get to late game, you can solo anything in the game pretty much with Magic Sorcerer. But it takes a little bit to get going versus the Necromancer and Stamina, or in the Magic Nightblade. We've been talking really, really good stuff up here, man. We're S tier. These are great. Now let's talk about the Stamina Nightblade. This one's easy. D. You get nothing. It's kind of unfortunate. All of your good stuff comes later. It's not even that great when it comes to endgame. The class itself doesn't have a whole lot of self-healing. It does have one that goes off of magic, or goes off of your max health, but it's also your cloak, so you have to get rid of your cloak. It's a great class. It's a lot of fun to play in PvE, and I've played it a ton in PvE. But when it comes to, you know, new player tier list, and if you want to just have the ease of leveling up, you know, do all the content in the game, it's the worst. It's by far worse than every other class in this list, just because it doesn't really give you a whole lot to go off of. All of the stuff you actually want to use with the class is late. If you are going to run a Stamina Nightblade, while you're leveling, once you hit 10, I specifically think you should go into at least Battlegrounds and get your heal. Once you get your heal, it opens up a little bit, but again, you suffer from the lack of AoE as a Stam class, and it will take forever before you get actually good AoE on the Stam Nightblade. And even when you do, it's not as good as almost any other class. All right, so the Stam Nightblade, a class I love, but it's just not a really good solo PvE character, especially early on. Next is a Stamina Necromancer. We're going to put this in the... We're going to put it in the B tier. It's not quite as good as the Magic Sork. It's definitely not as good as these two classes. The one thing this class does have above it, which I could really easily put this in the A tier, is because it has a class spammable that also heals you. So you have sustain, and it gets a lot of it gets a couple cool things really early. It also, again, has a great ultimate. The big, not Atronach, but the Colossus comes down, does a ton of damage. It's great. You know what? I've convinced myself we're putting it in the A tier. There's not going to be a whole lot of A tier or above stamina users, so yeah, it's unfortunate. But when it comes to the Stamina Necromancer, it does have the stuff that other classes lack. It still doesn't have great healing, which you can get. Again, if you're going to run any Stam class and you want to solo stuff, you're going to want to go into PvP and get the Vigor right off the bat. It's really easy to get. It doesn't take, it's like just a couple Battlegrounds. So do it a couple times, get your, your Vigor, and it's going to help you out a ton. Next is the Stamina Warden. The Stamina Warden actually has some pretty cool tools. It doesn't have a spammable AoE, so that really suffers. We're going to put it in the B tier. It has a lot of things that you want. It has healing through its class skills. Now, I know some of the better ones come later, but you will still have some healing through that. It does have some AoE, but it's not an AoE spammable, so that's kind of weird. If you run in like a bow, you can put down a little bit of AoE and then put down this and then just kind of single target everything down. You do get a class spammable in this, but Stamina really doesn't need the spammables. You have a couple other options you can use. But it has pretty good survivability. Once you get Netch, it really starts to take off. But it's a really good class. It's really good once you get to endgame and you have, again, your Vigor and you have all of your skills and all the skill lines. It's a great class. They do suffer from ultimates as well. They don't have anything great. You can run the bear, which is typically the best in single target situations, but I always like to have an AoE ultimate, which they really don't have. They do have like a permafrost, but it's really not very good for AoE. So you're really kind of reliant on like Dawnbreaker and maybe a Meteor from the Mages Guild line, one of those. That's the reason why I put it in the B tier. Still a great class, but takes a little bit to get going. The Stamina Dragonite, we're gonna put it in the A tier. Now here's why. Now the Stamina Dragonite does suffer from some of the other things that the Warden suffers from, the Nightblade suffers from. It doesn't have an AoE spammable, but it does have some things in its kit which is just better than something like the Warden. Its healing is better. Its ultimates are better. You have Leap, which is fun, not really great for PvE, but you have Standard of Might, which is a really great, just all-around ultimate. It's one of the best in the game. It's maybe not quite, if I could realistically, this is like B+, A- tier. It's not as good as the Necromancer. The Necromancer just has it all for a stamina class, where the Dragonite has a little bit better in the healing department, and it does have access to a little bit better single target at first. If you're really new, you just put down like 1 or 2 dots. But it's still a really good class and one of the best stamina classes, for sure, up here in the A tier. All right, next is the Stamina Templar, the Stamplar. This one's interesting. I'm going to put this, again, this is right around the DK mark, but is a little bit better or a little bit worse. We're going to give it a little bit worse. So we're going to put this in front of the Warden. It's probably a little bit better. It probably goes these 3 kind of in tow right here. These 4, like if you're going to put these 4 together, it's actually probably going to go about like this. The Stamplar has a great spammable / AoE that it gets right off the bat. You can heal with your magic. It has that. It doesn't have a good enough ulti to be kind of up there in the A tier. The one thing you'll notice here on these A tier classes, for the stamina, that is they have a really good ultimate that they can use. You have Standard of Might and you have Colossus, where Templar really doesn't have a great one. They have some okay ones. You'll get the, I forget what it's called, but your little spear you swing around. It's really good. Once you get Repentance, that's really good too. But they don't have quite the same tools as the Necromancer or the Dragonite to really be able to solo everything with relative ease. Now, again, you can play any of these classes and do anything in the game. Just might take a little bit of finagling. Again, if you're running the stamina class, make sure you get the Vigor as fast as possible. It's going to make your life so much easier. Now to the last class, which is the Stamina Sorcerer. Now, this one's going to be very controversial because this class is insane late game. It's probably one of the best. It is, in my opinion, probably the best late game stamina class. But for new players, right off the bat, we're going to put it in the C tier. Now, people are going to freak out because they're like, oh my gosh, Parfax Stamina Sorcerer is insane. It's insane, but you have to get through almost the entire skill tree. Once you get to at least your crit surge and what's it called? Your dark deal. Once you get those 2, this gets bumped up ahead of everything. All the stamina classes. This is a solid A tier right here with its counterpart, the Magic Sorcerer. But it really relies on the weapon skill lines and very much suffers from the same thing that all the stamina classes suffer from, as they have no AoE. But the thing the Sorcerer really doesn't have over all of the other classes, even the Nightblade has maybe a tad better one. I don't know. They're all pretty bad. But their ultimate is garbage early game. You're going to run Atronach, basically, which is kind of just like it doesn't scale well when you're a stamina user. It's okay. It comes down, does a little bit of damage. But if you're looking to clear like big packs of mobs and stuff like that, you're just not going to do enough Stamina Sorcerer. You're probably going to use your magic abilities to clear it, to be completely honest with your class abilities while you're leveling. It's definitely the second to worst class to level with until you get to Dark Deal. Once you get especially to Dark Deal, and you'll get your Electric Form, but you get that pretty early. Once you really get Dark Deal and you get Vigor and you get your class skills, this literally shoots up the list. and in my opinion, it's probably the best stamina class to play with, but you have to suffer through some pretty dark times. Now, to our final three classes here, we have the Magic Templar, the Magic Warden, and the Magic Dragonite. And everybody knows where this one's going. This is going right here. The Stamina Templar, its first ability you get is a spammable that is their single target, and it is their AoE. It also heals you, so it literally gives you everything that you need. You have a wall that you can put down with, because you're running Destruction Staff. Every magic class can have access to Resto Staff, but Templar doesn't even need it. They can go sword forward, back bar. Sorry, they can go literally whatever they want. They can go double Destro. You can go whatever you want. They have great heals. They have great damage. Well, I should say great damage, but they have great, spammable. They have healing, self-healing. You can deal damage and heal. They have literally everything. These three are, in all honesty, they're all so good. You're gonna see these magic classes go right back up here too. But they're great. Pretty awesome. All right. So you have the Magic Warden. Now we're gonna put this A+ tier. So I think it's just a little bit worse than these three classes. Now, it can be very controversial because for some of the reasons why the Nightblade's not as good, the Warden actually makes up for it. Like, you have a couple things with the Warden, like you actually have an AoE right off the bat, and you'll get the spammable from the Destruction Staff, but they actually have an AoE they get fairly early. They have self-heals, but again, they don't have a great ultimate. Now, I know the Nightblade doesn't either, but they don't have a great damaging ultimate, especially in AoE cases. But the reason why I put this at a slight tier below is because it doesn't do anything especially well. Like, it heals, and it heals better than probably these three classes. But when we're soloing and we're playing PvE by yourself, you can make up for that in 1,000 different ways as a magic class. You can get a Resto Staff. The Nightblade just heals off of dealing damage. The Templar heals off of dealing damage. The Necro heals off of dealing damage, especially in AoE situation. And they have great heals as well. But each one of the three classes up here have something a little bit better as you're leveling up than the Warden. Once you get everything, obviously that changes. This is just as you're leveling up and as a new player. So yeah, the Warden's kind of like an A+ tier. It's probably a little bit better than Sork because it's better early. The Sork is probably better later, but they're all really good, and you can play any of these classes. Last, we have the Magic Dragonite. Again, this is probably going to go above all of the stamina classes just because Magic is in such an advantage if you're a new player. I'm still thinking if I want to put it here. So yeah, I'm probably going to put it here. It's probably, I don't know if it's the worst of all of them. We're going to put it right here. We're going to put, I said we were going to do it in order, but this is basically the order. Yeah, we'll do this order right here. So this is basically it. I put the Dragonite here in a solid A. It's not quite as good as the Magic Warden. It doesn't have quite as much healing. It does have a great solo spammable AoE, but it's really late in its tree, and I'm kind of really deducting points from these classes if you get it later in your tree. This isn't an endgame build again, or endgame tier list. This is just as you're leveling tier list for new players. They have pretty much everything you want. They have a really good ultimate. They have some dots you can put on there. They don't have a good spammable, which is, I guess you have Whip. Whip's not bad. So I guess they do have a spammable. It's not quite as good as some other things. But other than its ultimate, it doesn't do anything particularly well. It has healing and it has a really good heal, and it's with coagulating blood. But it doesn't have quite as good healing as these other classes at base. Again, you're just going to use a Resto Staff, make up for it. But it doesn't do what these classes do. These all have a sort of specialized in something, right? The Templar gets its spammable right off the bat, and it heals you as you're dealing damage. The Necromancer just does insane AoE damage, plus it has a ton of healing, and its spammable heals you for AoE. Then you have the Nightblade, which at the very beginning, it gets your single target spammable AoE, and it has Cloak. So I do put it above everything else because of just the ease of cloaking through stuff you just don't want to do, or getting your sky shards. So I'm putting a whole big, emphasis on the actual cloak for the Nightblade. But they have a single target spamable that you get right at the beginning, and once you get down later in the tree, sort of like the Dragonite, they have a great AoE spammable. So here it is. So here's the tier list. Again, you can play any of these classes. I think Nightblade's by far, in all cases, the worst. Stamina Nightblade, that is. You don't really get anything great. It has a class spammable, which is pretty good. But the stamina actually just doesn't lack the spammable. Unfortunately, it's kind of the one thing it doesn't lack at the beginning. It has almost no self-heals. You have to go to PvP to actually get its self-heals. It does have a little bit in its kit, but very, very limited. And most of that is pretty far down the tree. The Stamina Sorcerer is horrible until you get a couple different abilities. And when you get those abilities, it literally shoots up to A tier solid. It's probably even better than some of the magic classes, to be completely honest. But you're on the struggle bus until then. The Stamina Warden, the Stamina Templar, they just, again, lack one thing or another. The Stamina Templar lacks an ultimate. The Stamina Templar does rely on magic to heal him, but so you don't get any really great stamina heals. The Stamina Warden doesn't have a great spammable. It doesn't have a whole lot of AoE until you get it through the tree to your weapon tree, which is pretty late. Then your Stamina Dragonite and Stamina Necromancer. Necromancer is, I think, by far the easiest of the Stam classes to run. The DK does get some really good ultimates, which are great, which is kind of the reason I put it up there. And it has the healing is pretty good considering it is magic based. The Warden probably is a little bit better, but a lot of those skills are farther down anyway. But the Dragonite's ultimate really makes up for it. And then you have all 6 of your magic classes in the top 6 for new players. I love stamina. I play stamina way more than I play magic, so don't, take this and be like, man, I can't play a stam class. Just know you're going to have a little bit more struggle time before, you start playing. Like I said, Sorcerer needs a lot of things to get going. It doesn't have a great ultimate. I guess the Atro is pretty good. It's a lot better for single target than it is for your AoE. It's still great. It's in the A tier. It's still really good. You just really need a few things for it to really pop off, and then your other classes are pretty, like, especially your Dragonite and Magic Warden. They're really, really, really good. They lack in like one little bit department. The Warden lacks in the ultimate, where the Dragonite lacks in a sort of a good healing kit as it's leveling up. You do have a heal, but it's better. The other classes have a way to heal more and heal more often, like by doing damage. Like the top 3 classes, if you notice, all have a way to heal while doing damage. The Templar has its spammable that does it. The Necromancer has an AoE spammable that does it, and the Nightblade has, at the very beginning, their single target spammable does it, and they have an AoE spammable later in the game that gets it as well. All right, so I hope you like this tier list. I know this went a little bit long, but I kind of wanted to explain it. If you're a veteran player and you watch it, you're like, Parfax, this is dumb. Look, this is for newer players. This is for returning players. You're just looking to play a class. You don't really care about anything. You just want to know how easy it's going to be to play when you first start out. This is the list for you. This is just my opinion. Obviously, these are subject to change, subject to what, your opinions. You could be like, oh, Parfax, I think Stamina Nightblade is S tier, it's best class in the game. Well, you're allowed to have your own opinion, and so am I. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and get ready for the launch. It'll be coming out probably the day after this video comes out, and I hope you guys are having a great day.